Welcome back to The Explainer. If you've ever sat back and wondered why some of those picture-perfect relationships just completely implode out of nowhere, while others somehow manage to survive massive external pressure, well, you're absolutely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking the messy, complex dynamics of modern marriage by looking at two incredibly fascinating case studies.
Right off the bat, I want you to ask yourself something. Does outward beauty actually guarantee a happy, harmonious marriage? I mean, it's totally human nature to get swayed by aesthetics, right? We literally project values onto people just based on how they dress. But as we all know deep down, what you see on the surface is rarely the whole story. To really get into this, we're breaking down two distinct digital fables today. These stories perfectly illustrate exactly what happens when our internal, built-up expectations suddenly crash into cold, hard reality. And honestly, they prove beyond a shadow of a doubt why a person's mindset and boundaries matter so much more than mere appearances.
All right, let's jump straight into part one. Two stories, one big lesson.
So we're tracking two very different journeys here. Story one is all about a marriage completely shattered by mismatched expectations and this massive failure to actually understand a partner. On the flip side, story two looks at the exact opposite threat, a genuinely happy home that gets pushed to the absolute brink of destruction by toxic outside advice. Moving on to part two, titled City Face, Village Brain. Let's take a look at Vishal's story. Okay, so Vishal's family first spots Pooja at a temple. And because she happens to be wearing this modern blue suit, they instantly jump to the conclusion that she's a highly progressive woman. Vishal is thrilled. He's expecting a modern partner for fun beach trips to Goa. But the reality? Pooja actually vastly prefers traditional suits and harbors a deeply suspicious, super conservative mindset. Essentially, they literally married an assumption. It's a classic, almost painful example of that old saying, Shakal Sheher ki Akal Gang Wali. City face, village brain. And man, this realization hits Vishal like a freight train. During what was supposed to be their romantic honeymoon in Goa, he's expecting beachwear and relaxation, but she refuses to wear anything but traditional suits. Worse, she starts aggressively checking his phone, accusing him of having affairs just over totally normal work calls. Part 3, Pooja and Vishal's divorce. So how exactly does a marriage start with such high hopes and fall apart this quickly? Well, the timeline of this deterioration is just incredibly rapid. Check this out. At barely the 1-month mark, they go from a hopeful, arranged marriage straight into that complete disaster of a Goa trip. And the second they get back, things just immediately escalate, snowballing directly into a super swift divorce. Because you see, the final straw wasn't just about the clothes. It was her shockingly aggressive behavior. We're talking about Pooja nearly beating an elderly neighbor with a stick over a minor trash dispute. Then, Vishal invites his colleagues over for dinner, and she publicly insults the female coworkers, literally calling them cheap right to their faces just for taking group photos with her husband. At that point, Vishal hits his absolute breaking point, kicks her out, and officially declares that not all that glitters is gold. Now let's pivot to part 4, Soumya's happy home. This starts out totally different. As a brand new bride, Soumya makes these delicious aloo pyaz parathas for her new family. And the response? Her in-laws and her husband, Nilesh, just shower her with genuine praise. Her sister-in-law, Rachna, treats her like a younger sister, helping her out in the kitchen. Soumya is feeling so much love that she even tells her own mother she has absolutely zero homesickness. It is, by all accounts, a textbook perfect family dynamic. But then we hit part 5, the impact of maternal interference. So Soumya calls her mom to share how happy she is, but instead of being thrilled, her mother gives her this incredibly toxic advice. Stop bowing down or you'll be suppressed for life. Her mother insists that the in-laws are just buttering her up so they can turn her into an unpaid permanent maid. And just like that, this massive seed of cynicism is planted directly in Soumya's mind. Almost instantly, brainwashed by this toxic mindset, Soumya's entire personality just flips. You can trace the downward spiral step by step. First, she intentionally ignores the rain and leaves her totally sick sister-in-law outside to fetch the drying clothes. Then, she carelessly lets the milk boil over on the stove, fiercely resenting any gentle guidance she's offered. She even sees this with anger when her husband gives his own brother a measly 3,000 rupees. The climax? She completely explodes, screams at her mother-in-law, and flat out refuses to do any more household chores. So, after blowing up like that and threatening to pack her bags and leave forever, we really have to ask ourselves, is this the end of Soumya's marriage? Are we about to see this play out exactly like Vishal's doomed relationship? Let's dive into part 6, the wisdom to save relationships. Here is the crazy twist. Soumya calls her mother, fully expecting her unwavering support. But instead, her mother tells her, "Look, I told you to make your place, not destroy your home. If you come back here, society will mock us. Handle it yourself." Fearing societal judgment, her own mother completely washes her hands of the whole situation and literally refuses to take her daughter back in. The phone just clicks dead. It's brutal. And as Soumya breaks down in tears, finally realizing the massive mistake she's made, she happens to overhear her in-laws talking downstairs. But they aren't plotting against her. Instead, they are gently defending her erratic behavior to her understandably angry husband, telling him that she's probably just feeling overwhelmed and homesick. Think about that for a second. The very people she was manipulated into viewing as the enemy were the only ones offering her real grace. What actually saves Soumya here is her willingness to take immediate, unflinching accountability. She literally falls at her mother-in-law's feet to apologize, openly admitting that her mother had been filling her ears with poison. And because she brings that raw honesty, the family forgives her right then and there. But here's the absolute game changer. Soumya gets up, calls her mother back on speakerphone in front of everyone, sets a rock-solid boundary, and demands she never, ever interfere in her marriage again. When we put these two stories side by side like this, the lessons we can take away are just incredibly clear. With Vishal and Pooja, the core conflict was mismatched core values. The takeaway? Never, ever marry an assumption. Mindsets matter so much more than pure aesthetics. But with Soumya and Nilesh, the primary threat was toxic outside interference. Her ultimate lesson is that you absolutely must fiercely guard your relationship's harmony from cynical, external advice, no matter who it's coming from. So I want to leave you with this thought. How much outside advice is too much in your own relationships? Are you actively protecting the harmony of your home, or are you letting outside voices dictate your own happiness? It's definitely something we all need to reflect on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next one.